Welcome to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. We're going to be joined by a great friend of the conservative cause, a friend of mine, Jim Lamon, who's a Republican running for Senate out in the great state of Arizona. He's America first all the way. We've seen him at many CPACs, and I know you're going to love hearing from him. But first, I want to talk about another CEO. Jim Lamon is a successful CEO out in Arizona, but the CEO of Pfizer said the other day that 2 doses of his vaccine offers very limited protection against Chinese corona.
And we know that the 2 doses of the vaccine offer very limited protection, if any.
Trying to let that sink in. A vaccine that they tell us we should be mandated to take. In fact, they're even saying that kids as young as 5 should be mandated to take this vaccine. Yet the CEO of the company creating one of the most prominent of these vaccines is saying it offers very limited protection. What the hell is going on in this country? If you're going to mandate a vaccine, shouldn't it be because the vaccine works really well, not limited protection? And why is it limited protection? Because the vaccine is so poorly executed and has done such a bad job that you got to get booster after booster after booster. So this really sends a message to everybody who said, I kind of want to look at these studies. I want to see the impact on kids before I give it to my kids. I want to make sure that when I'm balancing the fear of death from Chinese corona, that I'm also taking into account the side effects of a vaccine. And what the CEO of Pfizer basically just said is really focus on the side effects of the vaccine, because it's not going to have much impact on corona. Now, this gets even worse if you look at what the CDC recently said.
The overwhelming number of deaths, over 75%, occurred in people who had at least 4 comorbidities. So really, these are people who were unwell to begin with.
Overweight, diabetes, some terrible health challenge like cancer. Probably the number one, old. Is this shocking to us? We said from the very beginning that this was a virus that really attacked not the young, but unfortunately the old. But in some ways, thank God it's not killing all of our children. We said from the very beginning that if you were very overweight, this was a big problem. If you had diabetes, this was a big problem. If you had heart and lung issues, this was a big problem. The CDC, after all this time, has basically said that it's almost like coronavirus exacerbates these problems in people's health care that is already there. What are we to make of this? After 2 years of being canceled, of people being kicked off Twitter for saying these very same things about Chinese corona, what are we to make of these leaders who seem to change their spin according to what else they want to get done? In the case of the CDC director, she starts bringing up the fact that it's not Chinese corona that's killing people in an effort to get people to, I guess, believe that the Biden administration is doing a really good job on the mortality rates. When what do we really know about Omicron is that it seems to be less lethal, but very easy to contract. So we have the CEO of Pfizer saying, well, it's one of these strains of this virus where we have to come up with a brand new virus or booster in order to stop the strain that's very easy to pass on to your friends and neighbors or the people that you interact with. I think we need a good old dose of common sense here, and maybe we all need to take a breath and relax. Before we mandate these chemicals on our children, maybe we ought to know what the real consequences are of getting and contracting this virus. I've just been told that the March for Life is being canceled left and right by big Christian institutions who are now saying they won't come to our nation's capital. By and large, the March for Life is a march of students, Catholic Christian students, pro-life students. It's being canceled when those students have a negligible health impairment from getting Omicron. Same thing is true for CPAC. We've not canceled CPAC. CPAC is on. We're going to be having it in Orlando It's known for having upwards to 50% of the people who show up be students. We're not going to cancel it, especially if young people don't have a big threat from getting this strain of the virus. We really do need to think about how this is impacting people. We don't need to be canceling things. We need to be having things. We need to look this virus in the eye. We need to make common sense decisions. And I think part of that common sense is, our plea to the mayor of Washington, D.C., and to these other big city mayors, and really to the Biden administration, and I guess ultimately to the Supreme Court. Please allow parents who are not domestic terrorists, mind you, make their own decisions about their 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old children. Let them decide what they want to do with them and how they best protect them. And I think I probably speak for all of you when I say these things. We love it when you turn into our show. We're going to be right back after this short break with Jim Lamon from the great state of Arizona. Welcome back to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. It gives me great pleasure to be able to talk with a great friend of mine from the state of Arizona, someone who has the courage to actually run for office, is running for the Senate, Jim Lamon. Jim, thanks for joining us on America Uncanceled.
Well, Matt, great to be with you, and look forward to 2022 election day. I don't want to bury the lead here, brother, but we're going to win in Arizona.
Well, that's music to my ears. Of course, both Mercy and myself have endorsed your candidacy to be hopefully at least the 51st senator to be that majority maker from the state of Arizona. CPAC is behind you 100%. Of course, one of the reasons why we're behind you 100% is you've always been behind CPAC 100%. You're a known conservative America First voice in Arizona.
It's been my pleasure, Matt. I'm a business guy, and I've been fortunate to be able to support conservatives for years, millions of dollars that helped people who had not run for office before to rise up. And in fact, that's part of why we got the audit here in Arizona, is because of the grassroots effort that I supported, and people who were in office, Arizona House and Senate, as well as across our country, being able to support conservatives and just be able to counter some of that left, far left money that's always available to them.
How do you react? I know how I react, but how do you react when people say it's the big lie to say that there was substantial voter fraud in the last election, that somehow that's some kind of a wives' tale? How does that make you feel?
Well, Matt, I was deep in the audit here. I supported it. I was an elector on the ballot for President Trump here in Arizona. And when things look really fishy, over 100% voting in certain deep Democratic precincts, things of that nature, more ballots coming back than went out. We supported the audit, put in hundreds of thousands actually to support the security of the audit, make sure those patriots who were counting the ballots, stayed safe. We identified at least 14 issues, Matt, that require legislation to tighten up Arizona elections. We got, about a third of those passed in the previous legislator. We also look for those remaining ones to be passed in the upcoming session. Now, unfortunately, many of those won't be in effect in the upcoming election. So we're looking for a wave here in Arizona, bringing out the votes. And that's my job, is to make sure that we bring everyone to the table so that we get in those people into the Arizona House and Senate that will, in fact, enact legislation.
So it sounds like you're doing two things. You are making sure that the law gets followed in the state of Arizona, unlike what happened in 2020 in Arizona and Nevada and Georgia and Pennsylvania and Michigan and Wisconsin and too many other states and big blue cities. Second thing you're doing is you're making sure people know that they're welcome, not only just on your campaign, but within this coalition we've built with Republicans, conservatives, MAGA supporters. It's an amazing coalition, and you're taking big steps on voter registration in Arizona too.
We are, Matt. I just want to mention one other thing on the on the 2020 election is that with all of the forensics we did in the audit, it's pretty obvious the fraud that was there. But unfortunately, Doug as governor, Mark as attorney general are just turning a blind eye to it. They're not going to take any action. We're going to have to do it in the legislation in order to make sure that we tighten it for the next go around in 2022. Also, as you mentioned on voter registration, I've seen for years how Soros did registration in Arizona all cycle. Republican side typically would come last 4 or 5 months. So we've got to do better. So we put our money aside, supported the largest private voter registration project in the country. We started in, of course, January this year. And Matt, I can say from May through December, we have out-registered the Democrats over 2.5 to 1 in Arizona, something I'm very proud of.
Yeah, that's great. In the state of Florida, they actually have more registered Republicans than Democrats in a long time, and really in my lifetime. So the fact that you have a similar program in Arizona to make sure in a race in a state that's gotten a little closer, that people know they can be part of our coalition. There's nothing more important. I call that the blocking and tackling of politics. It's the basics.
Exactly, and do it all cycle, right? We just can't come to the last 4 months of a cycle. Democrats have learned that lesson a long time ago. We're picking apart that game plan in Arizona, taking all the best parts and putting it into action here. The independents, they've out now registered Democrats as well. We're well ahead, of course, of even independents. But we're bringing that message across the board. Hispanic, Latino community here, very open to our message. We're up on air in radio stations in Nogales and Yuma, Tucson, because these people in that community, they're not a friend of this invasion that's going on at our border or the problems that we have in our public schools caused at the root by the Department of Education.
Well, I think you brought up Governor Ducey and Attorney General Brnovich. Why, not just the state of Arizona, but across this country, why do we continue to elect Republicans that seem nervous and weak-kneed in the face of questions like closing down this illegal invasion at our southern border?
Yeah, it's absolutely money in politics, I believe, Matt, and that people don't have the guts to stand up to it and say, I need to do what's right by the American people, not by the Chamber of Commerce or those groups who just want unfettered, low-cost labor. The American citizen, the hardworking men and women of this country, the taxpayers that pay the bills of this country are the ones that suffer. And we see it very much here in Arizona. I'm a very humble farm boy, originations, and first job was shoveling manure in Alabama and horse stalls. I can assure you that I'm eminently qualified to go to Washington and represent the people and make sure that we actually tackle the issues and not just keep kicking them down the road, Matt. There's some very serious issues in this country, and they need someone like myself and others that we're going to show some guts in the U.S. Senate and stand up and stop business if we need to in the Senate until we get the southern border closed, we get back to America First policies and stand up to this liberal Marxist march in our country. It cannot continue, or we're not going to have a country.
You had humble origins, but you built a hell of a business. You've been a very successful entrepreneur and CEO. We're looking at an economy and a country and a politics that's dominated by woke CEOs, woke tech oligarchs, people that are using their power, their money, their influence to really disrupt America, to chuck America off to the side and rethink America. You're the antidote to that. You have a different approach with how you have used your philanthropy and stuff. Do you think if we had more successful, wealthy entrepreneurs in Senate to stare these guys down, we could actually make a difference?
I think we can, Matt, and particularly those who come up with their hands and are working for a living in this country. The American dream is so precious, and it can be lost so easily. And we need to stand up for that in order to have it for our children and grandchildren. In the company, as you mentioned, we built a $1 billion company here in Arizona in the power industry over 8 years. Core values, three very briefly, I'll touch on. Number one was giving 10% back to the most needy, $8 million over 8 years. Number two was also being that veteran-friendly company. Those guys have given more, and so of 1,700 jobs that we created, over 20% of those went to veterans. And then thirdly was buy American first. People would be shocked in this country to understand how manufacturing has been sold out in large part with not just politicians, but woke corporations that you mentioned, looking for that absolute lowest, cheapest product to make another nominal penny on the bottom line. We took a different approach, said we need shorter supply chain lines. We need American business to come to the table, and we worked hard with them. We could have made more money by buying cheap Chinese crap, but that wasn't our objective. And that over the long haul, it really paid off for us because our power plants had more uptime than anyone in the industry because of good old American engineering and products and American construction guys. And so businesses came to us basically to negotiate instead of bid out because we built such strong, great plants for them.
So that your philanthropy wasn't just here or there, it was systemic to how, in a function of your success. Must make you crazy, Jim, when you see what's coming out of this White House with this, I call it the president as hermit. You never see him. Every once in a while he pops out. What do you make of the radicalism of the Biden administration?
You're absolutely right. I would be ashamed. I would be in hiding too, Matt, if I had the record of selling out America like Biden. And Mark Kelly is right there with him. He votes 100% with whatever the Marxist program is, whatever Chuck Schumer tells him to do. It's a wholesale sellout. It's obvious that they are putting America last. The invasion across our border, the fentanyl, all the drugs that are coming with it, things that are an absolute debacle and tragic at the same time, like in Afghanistan, closing down American energy pipelines and then begging Saudi Arabia and negotiating with Russia for more. It's absolute logic turned on its head. So it makes one think, Matt, that this is probably intentional. This is America last. I feel a wave coming here in Arizona. We're out 1,000+ miles a week with the people and understand their issues. There is a grassroots effort here, Matt, like I don't think it's been seen in decades, that is absolutely going to bring a change in Washington. I intend to be at the head of that in the U.S. Senate as a leader. I'm not taking lobbyist dollars nor PAC dollars. I'm going to donate my salary, not taking a pension. I'm going there, Matt, for the American people, the people of Arizona, to represent them, to be their lobbyist in Washington and get things done. It's not going to be business as usual because we have a country to save.
Not only does Mark Kelly have deep ties with the communist Chinese regime, he's also made a choice. Kristen Sinema, his colleague from your state, and Joe Manchin, they're not strong conservatives, but at least they have agreed to stand up to the president once or twice here. Why is Mark Kelly just completely in the bag with AOC and the radicals?
I just believe, Matt, that he's getting his funding from sources that tell him how to do his job. He did not put money into the campaign, or if he did, no sizable amount. And he's bought and paid for. If you look at his voting record, it is absolutely not what he ran on in Arizona. He ran as a moderate, and he's, of course, been anything but. Some of those votes voted for open borders, has voted for destroying our right to work laws here in Arizona for unionization, huge amounts of taxes onto our middle class in Arizona, which we enjoy great growth here, which he would stymie with. Fortunately, some of those, as you said, with Sonoma have been stopped. And just on and on. CRT, mandatory CRT, and we don't want that in any shape, form, or fashion in our schools out here in Arizona. This is not the guy who ran, and I intend during this election to contrast so that no one on the independent or Republican side would have any doubt, Matt, as to his view and his policies, Mark Kelly, versus my American First policy.
Yeah, it's a nice contrast, and I know my wife Mercy's excited to be out there with you at the end of the month, and you're going to have a certain really important visitor from Mar-a-Lago, former President Trump, out there in Arizona in a matter of days. How can our CPAC friends help Jim Lamon in his race to take back the United States Senate?
We appreciate that. Our website, Matt, Jim Lamon, LAMON.com, is available for contributions. For those great CPAC folks here in Arizona, of course, volunteering and jumping onto our campaign, we're having a lot of fun. It's great to be out amongst all the people here in Arizona, as I said, coming out in ways that we haven't seen before. I'll ask at a typical meeting, Matt, what was the attendance this time last year in a presidential election year? We're running 40 to 50% more attendees at rallies and meetings and things of that nature. So everyone on the CPAC side, jump in, get on the team, the bandwagon here. We're rolling. We're already started our major ad campaign just this week. National championship game last night.
I didn't want to bring it up, Jim. I was going to stay away from that topic.
Yeah, you can't win them all.
Can't win them all.
Great victory by the Georgia Bulldogs. But we advertise on that game. We're going to have advertising from now through November to make that contrast. So I'm putting in a lot of my own personal money because I believe it's the right thing as an American to do. And I simply ask for all the CPAC great supporters out there to do the same. The great organization, that you and Mercy lead today is just phenomenal. I look very forward to being at CPAC in Florida coming up here soon. And by the way, I just want to say that great book you've got out, everyone should go get that. It's just a great another way of looking at how things are being turned on their head here in America. And you standing very, very strong for it in your book.
Jim, thanks for bringing it up. This book called The Desecrators is coming out right before CPAC, and obviously it'll be there for people if they want it. But it does tell the story of what it's like to be canceled in this economy, and one of the reasons, in this society, and one of the reasons why I'm really excited about your race is that I just think we need more people in power who they can't shut down, shut up, cancel, make go away. When people like you are in the United States Senate, you don't want to be there your whole life because you already have lived a great life. You want to be there to get the right stuff done. You don't need the money. You don't need the salary. You don't need the prestige. And for those of the cops getting canceled, the teachers getting canceled, the mom and dads who are being called domestic terrorists, they need someone to stick up for them.
No, absolutely, Matt. And again, I've read the summary of your book, absolutely phenomenal. I encourage everyone to get it when it comes out, as well as just the core message that is in there. As you said, counseling great Americans that are on the front lines, people who have chosen freedom versus a government mandate. These people are out there that are true Americans, and we're all for vaccines if that's what the individual chooses. But this government mandate and just the overall scheme of government today, canceling culture, as you mentioned, that's what I'm going to Washington to speak up against, take action against. I can't be bought. As I said, I'm not taking lobbyist dollars nor PAC dollars. It's a matter of standing up for what the Constitution in this country sets as a framework of our country. And that's a very limited federal government, very limited federal government. There are places on this planet, from Venezuela to Cuba to others, that have a different system. Those who want to turn it into that should go there and live. But America I'm going to fight strong for her. She's deserved to be fought for, and I will do it on the U.S. Senate floor for our kids and grandkids.
And I know that you're going to make sure Arizona doesn't go the way of California, but the way of Florida and Texas. I feel quite confident about that. Jim Lamon, we're all behind you. Thanks for having the courage to run. We hope you'll keep coming on the show and giving us updates. I bet when Mercy hits the ground there in Arizona, she might have a camera following her to make sure she can capture the enthusiasm of these crowds you're pulling together. Thanks for joining us on CPAC Now, and God bless. We're going to be right back with CPAC Now America Uncanceled after this short break. Hey everyone, this is Matt Schlapp with CPAC, and it's my privilege to tell you that we've got a very important project that we've just announced, the First Amendment Fund. It's a brand new fund that we've created through our criminal justice reform efforts to raise money to take care of you, Americans who are being canceled and desecrated out there around the country. We know it just happened in Virginia, where parents were called domestic terrorists by the Biden administration, where people who just want to express their political views are canceled left and right. Now we have this terrible specter of a vaccine mandate where you can lose your job or be prevented from going to a restaurant or go to school according to your vaccination status. These are all the things that are happening in this country that are making people realize that America is in a fight to defend the principles that have made her great. If you want to be involved in this important effort, please go to conservative.org, click the link for the First Amendment Fund. Please donate to this C3 to help these victims across the country, including those who are just involved in politics, to make sure they have the legal representation they need to be able to live their great American life. We always appreciate you tuning in to CPAC Now, America Uncanceled. Thanks for watching The Bill Walton Show, which appears every week. We're going to be adding new programming. This is a teaser. It's going to be coming your way. We got a beautiful new studio that's going to be coming your way. Yes, Regina, we're going to have a brand new, beautiful studio because so many of you are letting us know how much you enjoy the programming. And we always appreciate your support at CPAC. The donations are rolling in. Actually, it's for bad reasons, not good reasons. Donations are coming in because people are quite concerned, including to our First Amendment Fund to try to uphold the constitutional rights of all Americans, especially those who are being canceled. So thanks for tuning in. God bless you.